Hello, it's Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and I'm here with a different video than I normally make on Fridays. On Fridays, I usually talk about my week of reading and what I read, what I'm currently reading and going to read next week, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we are at a point in time that needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about. And I didn't get a lot of reading done this week because of the protests, because of this unique moment in time that we're in, where finally people are waking up, hopefully, to the fact that Black Lives Matter. Police brutality exists. There are forces at play that prop up white supremacy. And that allows me as a white woman to have inordinate amount of privilege in the United States over my Black colleagues, my Black friends, my community of all sorts of people of color. But today I'm focusing on my Black colleagues, my Black friends, my Black family members, because I can't stay silent on a BookTube channel. I can't act like reading is this great thing, and more importantly, I can't say it's okay to escape into reading right now, because it's absolutely bullshit. Now is the time that we need to think differently and, more importantly, act differently. I'm thinking about Rachel Cargyl's quote and her definition of anti-racism work. And that definition is ongoing knowledge plus empathy plus action. Those three components, those three pillars need to all be in line for us to make progress to breaking the racist system that we are living under in the United States. Because we are indoctrinated, our culture centers white experience. Our culture defines norms as white behavior, white families, white speech, white food. All of that embeds on top of the structural ways that white people are given privilege over African American cultures, Black cultures, people of color. I'm specifically using the term Black today and not people of color or African American, because I have been doing a lot of work this week at my job with the Black Employee Network. And I am also in support of Black Lives Matter. So I'm focused very specifically on using that nomenclature today here. I didn't get a lot of reading done this week, and I didn't get a lot of work done at work because I am in a very unique opportunity. I have a unique position in that I am one of the co-leaders of my company's Women's Employee Network. I work in tech, and as such, I have an opportunity to really push the boundaries of what we should be asking for from tech in this moment. And so there's been a lot of talk, a lot of thinking about what does action look like versus words. We can talk about diversity and inclusion. What is the action that backs it up? Donations to places that will do that action for you, fantastic. Is it enough? Is it enough money? Is it prolonged, or is it just this fast inflection of cash to get rid of your bad conscience and then stepping away from it, not doing any more? It's not enough. It's not enough. So I've started doing anti-racism work at work as not my job. I'm not an expert, but I'm pulling from experts. I'm pulling from people like Rachel Cargyle, pulling from people like Layla Saad, pulling from people like Ibram X. Kendi, people who've done anti-racism work, some others, Robin DiAngelo, people that I've talked about on this channel before that I think are doing exemplary work, ensuring that people don't have the excuse to say, I didn't know. And let's be clear, most of the people in my employee network are white women, because that's how it works at a big corporation. The numbers for how many people of color that are brought in is not enough. And they are supported more through the Black Employee Network than through the Women's Network. Even though there are intersections, obviously, there's more work to be done though with the Black Employee Network. So my job as a co-lead of the Women's Network is to ensure that we are centering women of color, specifically at this moment, Black women, to make sure that they're supported through our network. That means that the white women need to understand and they need to come ready to do the work. And the anti-racism work, per Rachel Cargyle, is ongoing knowledge plus empathy plus action. So I've been pondering this all week. We talk so much about books, how books create empathy. Books create empathy. Books allow us that opportunity to become somebody else and to spend time there. And look, these are all books that I own that make up my shelf. These are all by people of color, by Black writers. A lot of it is African dysphoria. A lot of it is centered in Africa. I've got works from Mozambique, on Mozambique, because I was raised there. I also have, though, a lot of books that are fiction books that are centered in the Black experience. But I guess I'm here to say, for all of us booktubers, it's not enough. Reading a work of fiction in your home may help you get empathy. It may help you figure out what it's like to live in a different person's experience and see things through their eyes. But I was really, really moved by a piece that I found. I'll put a link to it below. And this is Namwali Serpell. She wrote Old Drift, where is it? Yeah. Namwali Serpell wrote Old Drift, and she did an article. And I have the article here. The article was actually written, she wrote this a year ago, March 2nd, 2019. And this appeared in the New York Review of Books. And it's called The Banality of Empathy. And I'll put a link to it below. And what she talks about is this idea that maybe empathy isn't enough for us to get past this moment. Maybe empathy is just the beginning. She asks in here, she said, and when it comes to art, as Knausgaard, meaning Carl Knausgaard, rhetorically asks, is it not more important to engage with our neighbor who, after all, is real, rather than one who exists only in a work of fiction? Jean-Jacques Rousseau raised the same point a couple of centuries ago. In giving our tears to these fictions, we have satisfied all the rights of humanity without having to give anything more of ourselves, whereas unfortunate people in person would require attention from us, relief, consolation, and work, which would involve us in their pains and would require at least the sacrifice of our indolence. There's another thing that she brings up later on near the end of the piece, where she talks about Bertolt Brecht and some of his theories in the 1930s. Brecht was against the catharsis of emotion that Aristotle once postulated as the purpose of dramatic art. To be moved to pity and fear in the theater as to expunge those dangerous feelings. Brecht did not want audience members cleansed of emotions. He wanted them to leave the theater ready to riot. Art should not be a release valve, but a combustion engine. So that's where I'm sitting right now. I'm sitting right now in a space of I could give you a list. I could give you many lists of books, but if your intention is to sit in your home and to engage in this very solitary affair of reading alone and having this personal experience that never magnifies into action in the world, then what good is it? What does it matter if you have empathy, if you don't take action? What good is it for you to gain the knowledge that all of these people are sharing with you if we don't do something? If we don't take that into our daily lives, into our conversations, into our politics, into our relationships, into how we spend and where we spend our money, what does it matter? Maybe this is why we haven't moved forward, because we sit at home and we read these amazing books and we don't do anything with it. We have uncomfortable conversation opportunities that we see all the time and we don't say anything. We don't question, we don't ask our fellow white people. I'm using white people as an example because I do think the onus is upon us to change. We don't say, I'm sorry, could you repeat that? That's not sitting very well with me. Or I'm sorry, could you rephrase that or tell me what you meant by that? Because that sounded not very good. Or how about this? Hey, that's a really racist thing to say. I think you might want to take a moment and reflect on that one. But we don't want to do that. We don't want to have those difficult conversations. And meanwhile, people are dying. They're dying at the hands of police. I specifically mean Black men and Black women are being killed at the hands of our police that are supposed to protect and serve. So I've been really, really challenged this week in trying to understand what my role is and what I need to do. Because I'm not here preaching, I'm here acting. This is an act. I'm sharing with you my thoughts of what needs to happen to propel us forward. But I'm also making sure that I am donating. I'm also making sure that I am educating and I'm doing the work that I can to have the most impact at my job where I actually have a voice and it can make change and it can make some proposals and press and start some petitions and try to get things made differently, changes made in how we hire, how we support, how we give promotions, and how our makeup is in diversity and inclusion at my company. But I have so far to go. I have so much more work that I need to do. I recognize that I am not perfect. That is the point. That is absolutely the point. This is ongoing knowledge plus empathy plus action. They all have to work in tandem. We have to push all of it forward. So what am I doing right now? The first thing I'm doing is I'm engaging again with Angela Davis's work specifically. There are two pieces that I want to spend time with. And the first is Freedom is a Constant Struggle, Ferguson, Palestine, and the Foundations of a Movement. But the second one that I'm going to start actually double down on immediately, effective immediately, is Are Prisons Obsolete? I need to spend more time in understanding what does the idea of defunding and getting rid of the police system, what does that mean in practice? What does it mean in reality? Because it sounded too far-fetched, but watching everything that's happened this week and watching how we are on the precipice of fascist takeover, and if the people don't push back now, and I'm heartened to see it. I am heartened to see people in the streets despite COVID. The fact that people are pushed so far that now is the time. And if you think about this, this is because of the foundations laid before. The foundation of Occupy Wall Street, which was the first time that a lot of the young people today that are in the streets saw an effective protest that actually did apply direct pressure to Wall Street. Out of that came the idea of the 1%, which was in the next election part of the campaign conversation of what is the 1% and why is the 1% benefiting everything from the society and no one else. We have that already laid the foundation. We then have all of these killings that are happening that we can see, and the horror of watching somebody die in front of us, and we don't even process it anymore. It's so common. We have those things, and we have Black Lives Matter, which has put these protests in really pushing the envelope on ensuring that we say their names. We say and recognize. We don't just take this as something else that's happened. We have Parkland and seeing those kids stand up and say, no more, not enough is being done to take guns out of the hands and protect the kids at school, for the love of God. Then we have this incredible moment where we have a virus that has decimated this entire country. We have a system, a healthcare system that depends on you having a job in order to be validated as a human being to have healthcare. What is wrong with this country? And people who never cared about that, who never cared about Medicaid for all, never cared about this idea of socialized medicine, because they had jobs and they were protected in their white collar environment. They were fine. They didn't want to monkey with their doctors and their choices. All of a sudden realize how tenuous the system is, because they didn't do anything wrong, but they're out of a job nonetheless, because the economy is at a complete standstill because of inactivity and the inability of this government to actually harness the resources of the federal purse and actually put a plan in motion to help people, to help businesses, to help ensure that this virus doesn't kill 108,000 people as of this moment. So we have people sitting at home, unemployed, on furlough, or even working from home. And we have the constant barrage of things happening on Twitter. We see it. And you know what? This president has validated Twitter. Now Twitter is much less of a fringe social media thing and more about where people get news. And now people are seeing it in real time. They're seeing a protest in their neighborhood. They're seeing things happen across the country. Another movement that has impacted this is Me Too, and people are seeing that it's not a singular event that happens to them where they have to question what did they do to deserve it. There is systemic things at play that are happening, but when we look in isolation at each individual incident, we lose the threads that bind all of these and connect all of these dots together to say, wait a minute, it's not the individual's responsibility. This is a systemic problem. So we start to see all of these things happen, and we're seeing that happen around the country. And now we're seeing white children who are in protest and old white men that are protesting that are knocked to the ground, and people are stunned. White people did not realize that police would do things like that. And they could see it happening in real time in front of their eyes. So this is an inflection point. This is an inflection point, and it's time for us, for all of us in the BookTube community, to really think about how not just are we reading enough Black voices? Are we reading enough Black stories? Are we reading enough of Black authors? The question is not that. The question is, what do we do with that empathy? How do we ensure that we're continually learning new things? And what actions are we taking place? Where are we donating? Where are we protesting? Where are we having those hard conversations? Where are we showing up and holding space, as silly as that sounds, but how are we supporting our Black sisters and brothers? Our colleagues, our friends, our family members? Where are we allowing ourselves to be centered versus allowing them to have the stage to say, what do you need? How can I help? How can I take a backstage to your needs? What you would like to do? What are your dreams? How can I support you? How can I not just be an ally? How can I be a co-conspirator to your hopes and dreams and everything you need to be successful in this country, in this world, in this life? To me, that's the call to arms. That's the call to action, to demand change, to demand action, and to be there to watch it, to see it through in a consistent and sustained manner, not a flash in the pan, not this big spark of, oh, we're here. What does this work look like? Not today, but what does it look like in 3 months? What does it look like in 6 months? What does it look like on November 2nd for Election Day? What does it look like a year from now? 2 years, 5 years? So I didn't speak earlier this week because I was at a loss. So that's all I wanted. I wanted to come here today and to press us to go to the next level, to take the next steps, to link arms, to show up as co-conspirators and dismantle white supremacy, and to do it together in support of all the people that we love, including those in the Black community. So that's it. That's all I have.